Activision devs do not play their own game. It's not your dad doesn't support you.
You should know, you worked at a coffee shop, you stupid bitch.
My name is Casey, and absolutely not fucking Tanner, because my parents don't hate me that much.
Hey, did they have just 8 patches lined up, but they just didn't release them because they were on break? No, you moron kids.
Then we'll, of course, get into it. Change your fucking name and get scammed. He's feeling under the weather.
I probably won't say another word until Stay Humble, so have a good pod, Raz. I'll be here listening.
Got it. We are recording. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to...
Oh, fuck. Sorry. That was a stretch. Oof. A good one.
Jurassic Park 4. Featuring Casey, also known as Razinon.
You gonna see it?
And his new Velociraptor co-host, Tanner. So I want you to... Actually, I don't want you to repeat that, because I think I heard you, but I hope I didn't. I hope I misheard you.
You see the
it sounded like you said you were excited and we're going to see the new Jurassic Park movie.
When it comes out in theaters next month, yeah, I will. I think it's June 10th, something like that.
Say theaters again.
Theater.
No, say it.
Theater.
Normal. Yeah, you say it wrong. That's fine.
I don't.
Not theater. Theater.
No one says that. There's certain words that, yes, you pronounce it that way. No one fucking says them that way, though. No one says, oh, I'm going to go to the movie theater. No one says that.
I didn't say
Have
that.
a conversation with a normal
either.
person. No one says that.
Theater. Everyone says it that way.
Got it. You put emphasis on certain letters to make yourself sound smart, because that's how it's technically supposed to be said.
Sound smart? Okay, holy shit,
we'll move
man.
on.
Let's get some community feedback.
Or you could do this episode alone. I don't fucking care. I'll log off right now.
Do you guys say, and is it correct to say theater or theater? I'm very curious. Say it out loud to yourselves in your cubicles now.
Well, that doesn't work, because when you say things, it doesn't sound like what you think they're saying. People think they say certain things a certain way, and they don't.
That is true.
So that doesn't even make sense, you dumb fucking retard.
Well, sort of does. It sort of does make sense.
Kill yourself.
But also, I said this in the Fire group chat earlier. Like, I think when I say H, like hard, I say it normal. But when I listen to myself, no one goes balls deep on an H like I do. And it's so weird. Hard. That's what it sounds like to me when I hear myself say anything with an H. It's so weird. Yeah, it's like, it's jarring to me. I hate it. But when I'm talking, it doesn't feel or sound that way.
I've never once noticed that.
Yeah, maybe it's just some weird thing. I don't know. Anyway, welcome to the show. Today we're not talking about how to speak. Although that episode would probably be of utility to virtually all of you because you're dumb, which is why you're listening to this episode. And welcome to the show. So today, bonus ep 91. This is going to be a platinum episode, I suspect. And what we are doing today is what we had planned on doing a while ago, sniping in Warzone. Is it worth it? Basically, the state of sniping in Warzone and is it worth it? Kind of nest it all together. And this is an episode that, honestly, ideally, I would still wait longer to do and like play more and see what other people are doing. But the reality is, I'm just not going to try sniping in Warzone that much more. And certainly not enough to get more of an insight into doing this episode. Because I think Tanner and I both would have to like snipe a lot more in Warzone to like really do this ep justice. And we're not going to. I don't enjoy sniping on Caldera enough to do that. It's just not going to happen. But we have enough, I think, data to still do this topic justice. So that's what we're doing today. So as far as announcements go,
merch sales live until it's live until what, Tuesday.
Yeah. Figure
it the fuck out.
Figure it the fuck out, indeed. And also, Tom Henderson on the program
Tommy boy.
next Saturday, June 4th, 12 p.m. Pacific.
Tommy.
Be there live. It's going to be really fun. And for you Damascus patrons, tonight we're doing the Texas Hold'em poker, not for real money. Just go to Discord, 6 p.m. Pacific time on tonight, Saturday. If you're listening when this episode, the day this episode comes out, as you of course should be. Now, any other announcements, Tanner?
No. So.
Okay. Well, I'll say one last thing. For our last Patreon episode of this month, we are going to be doing Season 3 Reloaded second impressions. We're going to do first impressions on Saturday. We're going to do second impressions on Sunday or Monday.
On a day before the end of the month, for sure.
And it'll come out on the 30th or the 31st at the latest. That's the schedule for the Patreon. So, all right, let's get into it. So, sniping in Warzone. So, the impetus for doing this episode was originally the sniper changes they made with, I believe, Season 3. Yeah. When they made it such that not all snipers can one-shot headshot at any range. And I think they did this to counterbalance the increase in health that everyone got on Caldera. And if you make the health more, but you still keep one gun able to kill you with one bullet, obviously you've inadvertently buffed the one-shot kill thing. So that was one reason that the devs did this. And they've also been doing other things, even prior to that, to kind of make sniping more difficult and worse. Adding flinch to all the snipers that everyone used. A lot of it, by the way. Not that that matters, because, yeah, which we've talked about. And now we've gotten Serpentine as well, which is a blue perk. And this makes it such that you take 20% less damage while sprinting. And they explicitly said in the patch notes when they released this perk that this is supposed to be part of the, quote, counter pillar of their Season 3 Reloaded patch. And Serpentine was literally added to the game from their own mouths to counter getting one-shot headshotted by a sniper. So if you're sniping and someone shoots you in the head with an HDR and you're sprinting with Serpentine, you won't get killed. That's the idea. And that, again, obviously makes sniping worse. So now we're going to do the episode. And let's get into it. And we're going to start with this. Which snipers are worthy of consideration in our view? So obviously, again, not all snipers one-shot headshot anymore at any range. Which ones, with that in mind, should you use? Now, the first interesting thing is that there are some snipers that have a pretty good damage range for the one-shot headshot, even though it's not infinite. So like an HDR, ZRG, these can one-shot headshot at any range. And then like an SPR can like 45 meters. But there is like, for example, the Pellington, which has a 70-meter one-shot headshot range. That might as well be any range most of the time. Because it seems to me, when I've been sniping, if I see someone who's farther than 70 meters away from me on Caldera, they are almost never standing still, which means, especially with the Pellington, it's going to be really tough hitting that headshot. With any sniper, if someone's moving 75 meters away, it's going to be fairly difficult to hit that headshot. And the Pellington especially, which I've tried, has so much flinch. So, to rein this back in, for me, and I think I would apply this to pretty much everyone, honestly, every sniper that can't one-shot headshot at any range is not worth using. Like, I don't see a case where you want to have a Swiss. Like with a Swiss, for example, you can one-shot headshot someone inside of 45 meters. But at that point, wouldn't you rather have an AR? And I could envision a scenario. Say you're playing quads. You're behind rocks. They're behind rocks 40 meters away. And they just keep shoulder peeking the rock with their AR to like get headshots on. They're maybe focused on like one of your teammates. And you just wait for them to peek, rip their head. Okay, fine. But if you had a ZRG, could have done that also. And you also could have done it if he was 90 meters away. And further, in every other scenario where someone's inside of your 45 meter range when you're using a Swiss, I'd rather have an AR 90% of the time. And the times where I'd rather have a sniper, I could also be using virtually any other sniper to still accomplish the same goal with slower ADS, granted. But it would also be way more versatile because it can one-shot headshot at any range. With how much flinch there is now, I just don't see any scenario on Caldera anyway where you should be using a sniper that can't one-shot at any range. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Because you're right. It's like, yeah, I could dink someone 40 meters away in one shot with a Swiss, sure. But if I miss that shot up close, you know, they're probably going to kill me, or then I'm going to have to switch to my secondary, and you know, it's going to just put you in these weird scenarios where fight an AR, yeah, it's going to take longer to kill that person if I'm not missing my shot with the sniper and getting a one shot down, then it's going to take longer to kill him with an AR, but it's just going to be way more versatile for the average person. You're talking about Caldera right now. I agree with that. I do still think the Swiss and Car specifically are viable on Rebirth if you're demonic and want to have fun. I will certainly use those some more on Rebirth because they are... I actually prefer sniping on Rebirth anyways, because that's more my sniping playstyle. Like even on Verdansk, I mean the last 4 or 5 months of Verdansk, I was a Swiss main pretty much. And that's my style of sniping, is basically bringing a sniper into like the closer range gunfight. So it's like I could theoretically do that on Caldera if there were more close range engagements, but they're not. So like on Verdansk, I would get plenty of one-shot downs on people within that max damage range that they're now nerfed to. But on Caldera, that just doesn't translate over because the engagements are so much further typically. And like you said, if you see someone far away, then it's like they're running through the trees as well. You're not going to be able to line up a shot most of the time. Yes, you can, but an AR is just going to be so much more valuable in that situation. So I think Card and Swiss are still viable on Rebirth, but you have to be either very, very good or just really like sniping and want to have fun with it. If you are an average player, you're going to do a lot better with an AR on Rebirth and on Caldera for that matter. But, you know, you could have fun with them on Rebirth and do okay, I think. I'm sure some of these TikTok sweats that use like a Car and a Diamati or something, they'll still do okay without issue. But on Caldera, I'm with you. I think there's about 3 snipers that are viable. It's pretty much like the HDR, the ZRG, and the AX50 pretty much. Now, we are recording this a day after the changes to the Season 3 Reloaded, which also made... So the Rytech one-shots within its max damage range, and what is the other one? The M82, right?
The M82. I think
so
there's
both
another
of those,
semi-auto. The Barrett.
That is the M82.
I think the M82 is the Cold War one.
That's what I'm talking about. Either way, the Cold War one. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah, no, you're right. Oh, you said it. Rytech.
Yeah.
Okay, the Gorenko is the other one.
Gorenko already one shot.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the Gorenko.
Mistake,
So like the Rytech now, semi-auto sniper, it's will one tap within, according to Raven's patch notes, if they're right, about 59 meters. So those may be viable, but I mean, a semi-auto sniper, horrendous mobility, just terrible. And at that point, if you're going to have really bad mobility moving around the map, just for a semi-auto sniper, it's like you may as well use a ZRG or something, a bolt action that's then going to just be better in almost all instances. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll have better velocity probably, and it'll do more damage, I suspect, if you're not hitting the headshot.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that's like, even that's another thing to consider if you're choosing a sniper that's way more relevant than it used to be, is like chest damage or neck damage or upper chest damage. Because on Verdansk, that didn't matter. On Verdansk, you were always just wanted, okay, what sniper can I like most quickly and easily headshot people with? Like, that's all that matters. And because for a lot of reasons. But now, like, let's say you are using a Swiss, for example, and there's a guy 50 meters away. You headshot him, you'll do like a lot of damage. You shoot a follow-up shot, and I don't know how much Swiss, like upper torso damage a Swiss does. But you can imagine that now on Caldera, you're going to need to hit multiple shots on people for a lot of different reasons in a lot of different cases often. And then chest damage matters a lot. And like if you're playing quads too, and you're using like an M-dub car, like that does like 5 damage to the chest. Like it's awful. So if you're missing shots, if you're missing headshots but landing shots on people who are running away, you're barely even helping your team too, because that chest damage is dog shit. Whereas if you were using a ZRG and you hit the chest, it's like, yeah, you didn't get the down, but you fucked that guy up. That's a lot of chest damage. Yeah. And that's going to help your teammates a lot more. So that's something that we're not going to really talk about besides that, but it's something worth considering, is that damage to other parts of the body now matters a lot more, because you're going to be getting fewer downs with your sniper shots.
Yeah.
And then someone could also say real quick, well, I should still use a Swiss because you can ADS fast. And even if they are outside of that first damage range, 45 meters, if I headshot them at 50 meters, they're going to be super weak. And then either I can hit them with a follow-up shot, or I can let my teammates like finish the kill because they're super weak and I hit a shot. Okay. But either one, if that was like an HDR, then he would just be down since you hit the headshot. So you'd rather have that. And it's not like I just don't accept that there are going to be many cases where you had time to ADS the Swiss, but not the HDR. It's not that big of a difference. I mean, and if he was 40 milliseconds from getting to cover, then that was a crazy shot. But that just doesn't happen that often. So I don't accept that. And then, or if you're using an AR, it would have been the same thing. You would have fucked the guy up and then your teammates could have killed him. So again, like, why were you using a Swiss? There were just 2 better options in that case. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I was just going to go back to what I was talking about. I kind of explained it poorly. So it's like the Rytech and M82, they one shot in the damage range where it used to 2-shot headshot. So they're still not like a ZRG is still going to one tap from 200 meters, but a Rytech won't. But like a Rytech, a semi-auto, and its 1-shot headshot range now is out to like, it's like more than 90 meters. So it's still very far.
Oh.
But again, it's like you're using that slow mobility sniper, then it's like the ZRG is going to also do that same thing, but at any distance. Rather than, I mean, 90, 95, 100, that's a very long distance. But, you know, is it worth using those semi-auto snipers? I don't know. I haven't messed around with them much. I just think you'd still rather have an HCR or a ZRG at that point if you're going to use some big clunky thing.
Yeah, I think there are now some snipers, some semi-autos that one-shot headshot anywhere. Let me look.
That's what I'm looking at, but it doesn't seem to be. So the Rytech one shots within max damage range, and its max damage range is 15. Oh, they nerfed the hell out of it. It's 59. Yeah, J-God's chart is not even close. I'm confused by this.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Now one shots to the head within max damage range.
And then the sniper rifle Charlie is the M82, I believe, and it says it also does it to the max damage range, but I don't know what the max damage range is on this. I can look it up on Sim, but I'm not going to right now. But so that's also the same thing. I don't know what that range is. I think it's less than the Rytech though, or around that same area. So it's like at that point, yeah, I don't know, just use a shitty slow mobility bolt action that'll one tap at any range.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you exactly. Because like if you're hitting headshots at 85 meters, I don't know. I don't think the semi-autos are worth it. Maybe they are.
They also usually have a good bit of recoil.
Argument for that. Yeah.
And they don't really have like recoil recovery. So it goes up and it doesn't seem to like come back down fast or very much. It's kind of weird. Like when you use like the M82 or something, you fire, your reticle goes up pretty high and it takes like a long time to drop. Whereas like a Swiss or a car are not like that at all. They're very fast recoil recovery. This is not like that at all. So they're odd to use. So it is kind of difficult. It is difficult for the average person to hit follow-up shots anyways with them.
Yeah. So I'll also add like the Gorenko, which is a Vanguard semi-auto sniper. Can one-shot headshot at any range. That might be worth running. Maybe. Because then like in theory, you could shoot someone. And even if you like hit the headshot, but they had serpentine, you can do a quick follow-up shot. But it depends how much recoil it has. Because if I have so much recoil that it's going to take me as long to re-aim at the guy as it would have to just rechamber a bullet with a ZRG, then I might as well just be using a ZRG anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've never tried the Gorenko. I suspect it's dog shit because I've never seen anyone ever use it or talk about it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a secret meta there, but I strongly suspect that that's not the case.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe there is an argument there. But it might be worth running a semi-auto sniper now. Rytech's got a 98 meter first damage range.
Well, according to Raven's patch notes, it's only like 59.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying is...
I think that's before attachments, though. So with attachments, it's probably what J-God's chart shows.
Okay. That makes sense then. So that is, that's a long distance then, actually. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So maybe the Rytech 2 would be worth using. Because, listen, you're not going to be hitting headshots outside of 100 meters most of the time, especially on Caldera. Like, good luck. I mean, maybe, but I don't know.
Well, usually people have to be sitting still. The average person is not going to hit most of those. You'll hit 1 out of 10.
Right.
Then again, at that point, use an AR if you're missing.
Exactly. So now let's get into the next topic. So we're going to talk pros, cons, and if it's worth it. So pros, why snipe? Let me start by saying this. Okay. Depending on your play style, it is still worth sniping, and sniping is not dead. So for example, Iron still snipes despite serpentine, despite all flinch, all the other changes. He still snipes because in these two instances are when I see him snipe. Number one, he's playing quads, and the way he and his team play quads is they find a very good position, building, hill, rock, whatever, chill there, gatekeep people, rotate to the next best position in the next circle. And if you are playing that way and you have a whole team supporting you playing that way, restock, snapshots, claymores, you're not going to get pushed. If you incur flinch, you can just take cover in the building, plate up, repeak again. Then it is worth sniping. And he uses a one-shot headshot at any range sniper. He's been using mostly the ZRG, I believe, which makes sense for that playstyle. Or when he plays solo, sometimes he snipes too. Because one thing on Caldera that's different about solos is that there are a lot of people just not moving.
Yeah, that is solos. Yeah.
And that makes sniping a lot easier. And because even if someone's 100 meters away, if they're just standing still on a roof or something, you could hit a headshot and then it's worth sniping again. But like if you're playing quads on Caldera, everyone's moving, especially if they're far away from, not especially if they're far away from you, but everyone's moving most of the time. And it's going to be like really, really hard to hit headshots in a way that wasn't the case on Verdansk. So in solos too, could be worth sniping for sure. But if you are not playing that particular play style, it's going to be real hard to get away with. Any thoughts on that point, Tanner?
I agree. Yeah, those are the only people that should be sniping. If you're not like a super aggro player, then I would say sniping is still viable for you. I just don't think that's like almost any of you guys. I don't, because it's like you have to have a slower play style and you also have to be really good at sniping. So if you're not both of those things, then it's just not for you and it's not going to work out that well. Like Iron also was used to using dog shit horrible mobility snipers that I never want to equip because that's what he's always used. He's been on the HDR forever. So and like for me, going from the Swiss to the HDR, it's like, oh, I'm going to blow my brains out. This is miserable. Takes longer to rechamber one round with the HDR than me to load a 5-round mag in with my Swiss. I mean, it is fucking slow. And it is very frustrating. So it's like, I don't like going from those quick snipers to those horrible mobility, slow snipers. But people that already played that style were used to it. So it's nothing really even changed for that person.
Right. Right. And again, like you said, he's really good. Like he can snipe really well. So he's hitting a lot of shots. Where like the average person, even if they just swapped Iron out for like me sniping, it's like, I'm going to get 20% of the snipes he hits.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then at that point, I'd be more benefit to the team if I was just using a fucking XM4 or an STG.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the thing. But kind of putting the... Hey, moving on. The next pro is the obvious one. You have the fastest theoretical TTK in the game at any range, which is 0 milliseconds. You're sniping and you hit a headshot, and it's instant down. That's the advantage of sniping. It's why people do it. And you could do it at any range. So yeah, that's the reason people snipe. And another, kind of extension of that is if someone has like high ground on you. So let's say you're like in the tunnel to the southeast of Peak, and there's like a team on the mountain, like fucking your ass. Or any other scenario where there's a team above you. Happens all the time in Caldera. If you have a sniper and you can hit a headshot and get it down, that can give you the time and space to rotate while they're rezzing or while they're down a gun, get to a better position, get inside circle, and then live to continue fighting. That is like the biggest, I think, advantage rotationally of having a sniper, is that it allows you to do that in a way that wouldn't really be possible with an AR. If someone's 70 meters uphill with cover shooting down on me, I'm just not going to get it down with an STG unless they are really dog shit. But with a sniper, it is possible. You peek, rip the head, 0 milliseconds, and then you can that allows you space to rotate up. That is another benefit of sniping. And that is like the biggest benefit of sniping that was on Verdansk, because that happened all the time on Verdansk. I'm at hospital. There's a team on the roof of downtown. They're gatekeeping. I have to leave hospital and go into downtown because gas. But since they're all on the roof, they're like not moving really. And they're just head glitching a roof. And then it's like way easier to rip a snipe headshot in that case. But the principle is the same. You get it down. That's one guy rezzing, one guy also not shooting. That's 2 guns down. Gives you a lot of space to just start getting across the ravine, get to cover, whatever. The same is true on Caldera. It's just way more difficult on Caldera, but it's still just as beneficial if you can do it.
Yeah. That all makes sense. Verdansk was just so much better or easier for sniping for the average person too. Yeah, there's just so many. Like I've talked about this before. The thing with Verdansk is it was predictable. You knew where people were going to peak most of the time. You knew, if you what's a good instance? Say you're just running up to train. You see red dots on there, they're going to peak somewhere on the top of train. It's pretty easy to just look right there. It's a flat roof. You're going to either aim left or right once you get up there, and their head's going to peek up here somewhere. It's still going to be a hard shot to make, but it's like Caldera. It's like, okay, there's someone on top of this ridge up there that's a curved hilly ridge. There's another little ridge below it. There's another a little hiking trail on that side that they could peek over. Right. So it's like you don't know where they're going to peek, and so that makes aiming and predicting where someone's going to be a lot harder. And then that just means longer to line up your shots, more chance for you to get hit a bunch of time and then flinch, screw your aim up, and you not even have a decent sniper shot at all on that person, you know? So it just puts you in weird scenarios on Caldera because of the way the map is designed. It was a lot more predictable when it comes to just he's going to be peeking this window in this building probably, or this roof probably. You get shot at somewhere on Verdansk, you would know, oh, I'm in Promenade and I'm getting sniped at from my right. Cool. There's 2 sets of apartment buildings. He's peeking over the roof on one of those, and I know it because there's nowhere else he'd be peeking me from. Caldera, it's like, I'm getting shot. Where are they? I don't know. Where's the glint? I don't know. I can't see it through the bushes and trees. I have no idea. Like, that happened last night when I was playing a little bit with Jake and Bandit. It's like, there's a sniper up there, and I'm like, where? And he's like, how, do you not see his glint? I'm like, no, I'm looking through trees. Of course I don't see his glint. Like, he was 20 feet to my left. He's like, he's right up there. I'm like, oh, I don't see glint from my angle, of course. I zoom in 6 times with my BAR, still don't see the glint because there's a bush blocking it. So it's hard to line up and make those shots, and just nothing's predictable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a good point, too, because, like, you have to aim on, like, 2 axes almost all the time on Caldera. So like in Verdansk, in your Promenade example, it's like, okay, there's a red dot on a roof to my right. Like, there's 2 apartment buildings. Okay. I'm going to aim up to the level vertically this guy's head's going to be when he repeaks.
Yep.
Now I only have to aim left or right.
Yeah, it's simple.
To hit a headshot. But on Caldera, when it's a hill, it's like, okay, he could crest here, then I'm going to have to aim more up, or he can crest here, I'm going to have to aim more down, in addition to left and right.
Yeah.
Which is like one part of the reason it's harder to snipe on Caldera. And another reason is because if they don't see you and they're not like holding you, they're just going to be moving. But like if someone's sprinting 80 meters away, that's a fucking hard shot to hit.
Yeah.
And on Verdansk, people aren't sprinting on rooftops. They're gatekeeping. So again, it's so much easier. But yeah, for sure. What is this next point?
Next point here. So it is nice having a person on your team with that long range optic, especially when it's like an HDR or something. And if you're using variable zoom scope, I mean, you can zoom in on their little pores on their cheeks from a mile away. So that does help a lot with Caldera engagements where you otherwise may not know exactly where someone is. If you know, oh, there's a team up there in the bushes, I can't see them anymore. The guy with the sniper can zoom in and see someone mounted on a tree with only, the side of their face sticking around the corner. You can easily spot that person, whereas you couldn't with an AR. So it's nice to have like one person almost for spotting. They can zoom in, they can start marking people. So it's like, even if you can't get that one shot down, you can still mark targets and then, do the team shooting thing. Team shooting is good in theory, doesn't always work in practice. There was one instance where it worked really well for us when it was you, me, Jake, and someone else when we were pinned down in that one area for so long. I think you and I both had snipers, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and we both got people weak and let Jake and Lag clean them up.
Yeah, we were just marking everyone. Holy shit, there's someone pushing us here. I would one tap them to their head. They would be one shot. I wouldn't get the down because it was like 100 meters with a Swiss. And then we were just marking them, and someone else would start shooting with an AR and get the down quickly. So it worked out well in that scenario, but that's not always going to be the case. It's usually not the case. So it can work, team shooting, when it works, when everything goes perfectly. But also, it's like an AR is just going to be easier to do that with most of the time.
And I still probably would have rather had an AR even in that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, we got some nice snipes, some lucky downs that it would have taken
I got one
a lot slower to do that with an AR. Maybe we would have been downed, but I don't know. And with that being said too, with the Vanguard meta AR optic being the 3-6, it makes this less useful than if we were all using like axials or something, but it's still nice when someone can zoom in really far, especially on Caldera when people hide in bushes, and that kind of goes back to like solos and duos too, like what you were saying. People don't move in those modes, so sniping is a lot more viable there because no one's slide canceling around everywhere, double YYing. hitting balloons, landing on top of everyone in solos. It's just that person that plays like that would rather play solo versus quads than just solo. So like that person almost doesn't exist. Everyone is playing slow, like you're saying, crabbing around in solos. But so yeah, it's nice to have like one sniper on the team still for essentially spotting people. And if they're really good, getting those downs.
Yeah, for sure. And that is, by the way, it might sound like a dumb pro. Like, oh, I can see people farther away. Who cares? It's like, okay. I mean, sometimes, like, yeah, that's not always going to be, like, super useful, but it's nicer than you think. When you do snipe, you're like, damn, this is nice. Like, I see that guy, I know where he is. I can ping him. I probably wouldn't have known they were there if I wasn't sniping, because I wouldn't have been able to see them. I wouldn't have been able to zoom that far. And it can save your life, because it's like maybe you meant to go to that buy station, and then you're like, oh, fuck, never mind. There's a full team there. I need to go buy over here.
Yeah.
That can be more useful than it probably sounds. So that's another pro, for sure. But again, like Tanner said, with the 3 to 6x optics for Vanguard ARs, which is like the meta Vanguard AR optic, this becomes a lot less of a pro. And that's going to continue to be the case, because they're going to continue to make Vanguard ARs the best long range option. And I don't think that's ever not going to be the case again in Warzone.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much always going to all have a 6x option. And is 6x much worse than 8x for this purpose? No.
Yeah.
Not really. So just another kind of thing to consider. And then again, like Tanner said, on Rebirth, it can be worth sniping still.
Yeah.
I think
it'd be fun, at least. Probably.
Definitely fun. And maybe even like viable and like competitively viable with an AR. I can imagine if you like to play top prison, sniper's really good.
Exactly. That's the one spot that I'm thinking it would be really good if you're a top prison gamer.
Yeah. Because
there's some nasty headies
people
could
still be just as viable as an AR if you're good enough.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true. So yeah. Now, onto the cons. Okay, and Tanner just reminded me at this point. We now have a fast travel system where people who are kilometers away can be on you in an instant. And we have balloons now as well, where people who are, again, kilometers away can be on you inside of 5 seconds. Mag dumping you from the sky. And that makes having a long range gun way less good. Obviously. Because if you're sniping, you want people to be far away from you so that you can maximize the value of your weapon. And if you see a team that's really far away and they see you and you're sniping, guess what I'm doing if I'm not the sniping team? I'm yeeting my character over to you and getting really inside of you. And even if it's not that case, even if you just get ballooned on randomly, you're going to be sad that you're sniping. And this happens a lot. We get ballooned on a lot. Even when we're all using ARs, it's not a great scenario when 4 people balloon on you that you didn't know were there 2 seconds ago. We usually die in that case. If we're sniping, we're double usually dead. And it happens fairly often. And now with the fast travel system, we haven't played enough yet to like give you data on this, but we've been fast traveled on before as well, where we took the dumb fucking thing and then some other team took it and we were fighting one team and the team that came out of the fucking hole fucked our ass, fucked that other team's ass. And if we were sniping in that case, it would have been totally useless in all of that. So there are just more gap closers on Caldera now, that where you can close really big gaps really quickly.
Yeah.
That used to not exist, that makes snipers worse.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a big con for sure. And you're not going to snipe someone who's ballooning toward you unless they pull their chute and are floating.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of those things. What happens when someone balloons on Caldera? We all start shooting. We almost always get the down. what's going to happen if you have a sniper? You're going to shoot. You're going to, 1 out of 20 times hit a nasty snipe, hit them out of the air and go like, oh, fuck, that was nuts. What about the other 19 times you miss, they land? Cool. What would happen if you had an AR? What if you happen if you had an STG? You down them out of the air.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. So it seems to me like there are basically two scenarios. Number one, someone will be so far away that it's going to be very difficult to one-shot headshot them. Because when people are far away on Caldera, they're usually sprinting. They're usually moving. And hitting a headshot on some moving target 100 meters away with a sniper is fucking hard. Now, if you're super goated with the sauce and you can do that 60% of the time it happens, then God bless you. But most people, that's not the case for. And even if you do get the down and they're 100 meters away, you're pretty unlikely to finish them. Which is now even more true because downed players move way faster than they used to now, which just changed with Season 3 Reloaded. So, again, either scenario number one, they're really far away. You're not going to get the down most of the time because you're not good enough. Or, even if you do, you're probably not going to get the thirst anyway. So now they know you're there and you've deprived them of 3 plates. Okay. Or scenario, and also, by the way, if they're 100 meters away, unless they're running right at you, they're unlikely to be a threat to you and your team at that time anyway. This is the weakest of the 3 points here, because like eventually they'll be a threat or someone else will kill them. So like, yeah, you always want to be killing people, duh. But still, it's like it might not be that relevant to you to get that kill at that time, which you're unlikely to get anyway, because you're unlikely to even down them, let alone thirst them. Or scenario 2, someone will be close enough to you such that you would just prefer an assault rifle, since you won't have to deal with flinch, missing your shot, etc.
Yeah.
I think those are basically how you can distinguish the two kind of engagement scenarios where you can test whether you'd want a sniper or not. Either case 1, they're too far away for it to matter and be relevant, or case number 2, they're going to be close enough to where it's like, yeah, it's pretty easy to hit this headshot if they're not shooting you and you're not flinching. Or they don't even know you're there and they're 30 meters away. So it's like, oh, it's an easy headshot and they're close and it's in my one-shot headshot range. That's great. But if you had an STG, that guy's also 100% dead anyway.
Yeah.
And you're more likely to kill him with an STG because you can whiff easy shots with snipers and then you're fucked. And then they start shooting you back and you're dead.
Yeah.
And it's like there's all this risk that you just rather have an AR in that case. So it's like I don't see a scenario where you'd prefer a sniper unless, again, you're playing quads like Iron, or you're playing solos, or you're playing Rebirth. That's kind of how I see it. What do you think?
Yeah, what you're saying too about like you'll get a lot of downs. That's what happens on Caldera especially. You get a shitload of damage with snipers now, but you won't necessarily get the kills to back it up. Whereas if you had that same amount of damage with a assault rifle, you'd have 8 more kills than you would. On like solos, like the down thing maybe isn't as important, because I know it's, you know, a lot of people have self-res, obviously, but it's like if it's just one person, then you can easily push that engagement and try to finish them off or something, even if they're far away, close that gap. But like in quads, cool, they're gonna get rezzed. Yeah, and it's like, all right, and then what happens there? Either they're gonna start pushing you, and then you're stuck with a shitty long-range sniper build, or you're gonna end up pushing them, and then what do you have? You have to deal with whatever your secondary is and not have like an AR to compete at a medium range. Exactly, yeah. And then that kind of leads into my next point here, which is sniping essentially forces you to use either a medium range AR or a longer range SMG build that aren't meta and aren't ideal, because you're setting it up for a specific case of trying to be viable at close range and medium range while not being the best at either of those things.
Exactly.
Because you can't use an OTS-9 with an HDR. Doesn't work very well. You're viable within 10 meters, and then you're viable after 60 meters and nothing in between, you know? It gets really weird. Right. So you're forced to use like these builds like an AS-44 medium range build. Yeah, excellent gun. Really good gun. That will kill fast up close, but then what's going to happen even at like 40 meters? The recoil's usually going to be bad enough that you're going to need to like mount or something to kill that person. The theoretical time to kill is really good, but you're going to end up missing a lot of shots where those shots would be easy to hit if you had a long range STG build. And then what's the other what else is going to happen is that you're going to have either a high mobility SMG for really good for clearing buildings, again nothing in between, or you're going to have a shit mobility medium range AR build like an AS-44, and then you're stuck with a long range sniper and an AR build, and you have zero mobility around Caldera, which is, I mean, just detrimental. You're going to be caught in the open and not be able to sprint, especially now with the stim nerf. If you have a shit AR, you're not going to be able to get away from these gunfights where you otherwise would be able to.
Right.
So you'll end up losing a lot of gunfights up close to a meta SMG, and then you'll end up losing a lot of gunfights at medium range to a meta AR because you don't have the ideal meta secondary, or you don't have the ideal medium setup range. for close or medium range, because you have to build something that works for both.
Yeah, you can't have, exactly. That's the point. Like what Iron does when he snipes is he uses a long range well gun SMG setup, which is pretty good. Like he puts a slate on it. He uses lengthened. He's got like a long barrel. So the sprint out time isn't as good as a meta Type 100. And the damage range or TTK isn't as good as a meta STG.
Yeah.
So it's like he gets kills up close. It's competent up close. And he gets kills medium range. It's competent in medium range. But it's not the best in either of those cases. And this has always been a big disadvantage of sniping since day one of Warzone, and it's still true, is that if you're sniping, your secondary is... You're always going to have some distance where you're not optimal.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, and that's also true if you're using AR SMG, but the distance at which you're not optimal is 70 plus meters. And in that case, you just avoid 70 plus meter gunfights.
Well, no, what you were just saying is if you see a team far away and your whole team has ARs and it's like over 100 meters, what do? You close the gap easily, like you can do with balloons or something. With snipers, you're not going to close the gap, obviously. And so there's just so many scenarios where you're left out to dry.
Yeah. So then, like, again, to take Iron as an example, when he's sniping, like, if he's playing heads up in a building late game with his, like, well gun that's, like, decent at close and medium range, he usually gets fucked by a meta Type 100 insane TTK, insane sprint out time gun. Because he can't afford to build an SMG like that. Mm-hmm. And if he did, then he sees someone at 40 meters. Okay, try using your meta Type 100 at 40 meters. You will lose.
Can't use it past 12.
Try using your ZRG. You will never hit a headshot. You're gonna have way too much flinch if that guy is competent. Yeah. So it's like you're forcing yourself into having like a suboptimal secondary, which was fine on Verdansk because sniping had so much more utility back then. And like what I would do in Verdansk is a Swiss plus a meta SMG. Because with way less flinch, what you could do is if someone is at your awkward damage range, which is medium, take a shot at them with a Swiss, hope you hit something. If you do, then you take out your SMG. Yeah, SMG sucks at this range, but that guy's also weak now. So I've leveled the playing field. But with the flinch changes now, you're not likely to even hit the first shot on Caldera.
Yeah.
In a heads-up gunfight at medium range. So then you can't just switch to your SMG and finish them off, even though your SMG is optimum for close range, because they're not weak and you're not going to win. So That's a great point as well. No matter what secondary you're using, it's not going to be the best at anything. You really can't afford for it to be.
Yeah, and then back in Verdansk too, we went through the time when we had crazy high strafe speed Cold War AKs and XM4s. So there was like, that could work as an SMG basically, because you zoomed around so fast. FFAR, yeah. The overall weapon balance is a lot different back then too. But yeah, good points there. And then Iron, I mean, he knows he can't push into buildings because of his gun setups, but then also that's just not how he plays, you know? So it's like he has to set up these medium range SMG builds that he'll get fried with up close most of the time.
Yeah.
So my next point is you're forced to play slow on Caldera. Quick, high mobility sniping is pretty much done. I used the Swiss last week sometime. I got some nasty, actually, yeah, it was the gameplay stream I did last week. I got some nasty quick scope snipes up close with the Swiss within its max damage range. It was really fun. Yeah, it was a good time. But what happened every engagement when I was outside of the range? Cool. Got a hit marker on someone. Nice.
Yeah.
And it's like in those instances where I got the one shot down, yeah, I killed that guy very fast. I wouldn't have killed him as quickly with an AR, but I still would have been able to put up an easy gunfight and, probably win it most of the time. So pretty much have to play slow, sit in power positions, sit in bushes, don't move a whole lot, use a ZRG or an HDR or an X50 or something. That's the way you have to play. And if you're not used to playing that way, it's boring, and I don't want to do that personally. That was never the way I sniped on Verdansk. I ran around and used my Swiss as an AR, basically.
Right.
So it forces you to play a specific play style. And that's why I think you don't see many people doing it anymore. It's because those people didn't have that play style of sniping before, so now they have no interest in changing their sniping play style, because that's what you have to do if you want to be viable with them. People just aren't going to do that unless you were already doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I have nothing to add to that. I think you're spot on. You have one more point here.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Every sniper just has, as you said, insane flinch or horrible handling and mobility. It's not great with 300 health. Sometimes you'll start getting shot at. You'll want to ego chow the guy with the sniper. Cool. So I'm trying to line up my shot while I'm getting pelted at 60 meters, and I get hit in my chest 8 times. I'm not going to be able to hit that shot. You'll hit a lucky headshot every once in a while. The flinch will... You'll get one of those lucky shots where you get hit, you flinch up right when you press the trigger. Right. You'll hit the guy in the head. You're like, oh, that was nasty. Flinch helped me there. Yeah. And then the next 99 times, you'll miss every shot.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a frustrating experience where, again, better suited with an AR.
Yeah. I remember right after the flinch changes.
Yeah.
You and I were playing. Yeah, I know what you're thinking of. Yeah. Or you know what I'm thinking of. It was the last team. We were behind a house. They were behind a rock with ARs. I was sniping with a Swiss, I think. And like, dude, if this was pre-flinch changes, I would have killed him like 3 separate times. But every time I peeked, he just had to hit me with one bullet, and it was too much flinch, and I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
And if it was pre-flinch change, it's like that was so free multiple times, because he just kept peeking his head in literally the exact same spot. I like lined it up. I was like, okay, I strafe one step to my right, and I'm on his head. Free. Yeah. But there's too much flinch now. You just can't do it.
Yep.
Just can't play that way anymore. And now there are way more other changes that make sniping even worse, like we've been saying. So exactly. Now, is it worth it? I think you probably already know our answer. If you're not playing like Iron in quads, or if you're not playing solos, or if you're not playing Rebirth, no. It's not.
Even then, Rebirth, it's not, unless you're demonic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, are there instances in which you'd rather have a sniper than an assault rifle? Definitely. Even on Caldera, even if you're not very good at sniping, can you concoct a scenario in which you'd prefer to have a sniper over an assault rifle? Absolutely. Will there maybe even be one such scenario every single game of Caldera you play? Maybe that's true. But if that is the case, if these instances do crop up for you on Caldera, where you're like, man, I wish I was sniping that game, that will be the case at most 20% of the time. And then the other 80% of your engagements are engagements where you'd rather have an AR than a sniper. So, yes, snipers can still be helpful and good, but with all of these changes, the scales have tipped more and more toward, on average, would I rather have an AR or a sniper in this case? It is so heavily skewed toward AR now that I just don't think it is worth sniping anymore. Because most of the time, the vast majority of the time, you'd rather have an AR than a sniper. Now, again, if you're building your whole quads game around sniping, like Iron does, then it is worth it. But even then, if you go watch Iron's stream, go watch Iron play quads and snipe. And let's say you even wanted to emulate that play style of playing real smart, rotating in, getting to a power position, and staying there in gatekeeping until you have to move. Look at how many nasty fucking shots he's hitting that the vast majority of you are not going to ever hit.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it for you guys. Even if you enjoy playing that way, it's probably not worth it if you want to do well, because you probably don't snipe as well as Iron does. He's really good at it. And in that case, you just, again, you'd rather have an AR. So, I concede that there are times where it's like, fuck, I really wish someone was sniping here. We're pinned down under a hill. We have to rotate into gas. We're never going to get a down with an AR. If only someone had a sniper to get a headshot to give us space to rotate. Yeah, sure. That'll happen in your game. Does that mean you should have been using a sniper that whole game? No, probably not. Because maybe you never even make it that long into the game if you hadn't been using an AR to get you there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. Because what would always happen in Verdansk, we would say this all the time. Or we would, when we got second loadout in Verdansk, we would specifically look at where the circle was and think, is this a sniper ending? Should we grab a sniper right now?
All the time.
Now, obviously, that was also like because of flinch and other things. But I'm just saying that like back then, everything about snipers was better. Now, I don't ever have that thought in Caldera at all. Final circles, there's never a time that I would rather have a sniper than an AR, ever. I mean, ever. It just doesn't make sense, you know, like in Verdansk, you'd end up like favorite up by the military base.
Military, yeah.
That was one of like Iron's OP Mark's power spots they would use. If it was landing, if the circle was ending around there, what would we do? Take up a power position. We'd all have snipers on that roof, you know? Caldera, no. It's like I'm running through trees and bushes. I need to be able to react fast and just get shots down without firing one bullet and then missing and being entirely fucked. So, bottom line, you will do worse. I can almost guarantee it. Yes, sniping is very fun, and I wish it wasn't dog shit now. It kind of goes both ways. I love not getting just one shot downed suddenly out of the middle of nowhere to a team of 4 people with glint sniping. That's nice, but also I really did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. That was my all-time favorite gun on Warzone. Still was the Swiss. All of my
I missed sniping too.
Yeah, it was my most fun thing. So it's not like we've never enjoyed sniping. It's like, no, I use a Swiss more than an AR on Verdansk. So would you probably almost certainly just get more kills if you use an AR all the time? Yeah, I can almost guarantee it.
And do better and place better.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay alive longer, for sure.
Yeah. So you'll end up cracking a bunch of plates, doing so much damage, and getting less kills than you would if you would have had an AR. And that's pretty much what has been this entire episode is you would be better with an AR. We've said that 100 times now. It's just that simple. There are very few of you listening. Listen, if you just want to have fun in Warzone and you have fun sniping, sure, snipe. I get it. It is fun to do. But if you're trying to get the most amount of wins do the best you possibly can, get as many kills as you can. Sniping is not for you. Out of all the people listening to this, probably literally less than 10 of you are good enough at sniping that you can solidly use it and do really well with it constantly. For most of you, it's just not going to be the case. And I put myself in that category too. I don't think I should be using them. I know I'll do way better with an assault rifle. I mean, it's pretty much proven. Even back on Verdansk, when I used a sniper, I had more fun. I got all the damage and never got any kills though, you know? That's just the way it goes. Yep. I would have had a higher KD on Verdansk if I had used an assault rifle, but I chose not to because I like sniping and that's what was fun to me. So that's where it lies to you. If you just want to have fun and enjoy the snipers, and yeah, of course, obviously use them. But if you're trying to get better, do better, raise your KD, get more wins, use them at an assault rifle.
Yeah. Outside of those specific cases, solos, quads, asterisk, or rebirth, asterisk. I mean, even solos, asterisk, actually. Yeah.
All of them, yeah.
That is the central point. Like, I mostly sniped on Verdansk toward the end as well, because I had more fun doing it. And I was never under the illusion that I would be doing worse with an AR every time I chose to snipe. I would choose to snipe on Verdansk knowing full well I'll do better with an AR if I do that instead. But I have more fun sniping, so I'm going to snipe on Verdansk. And sniping is still worth doing on Verdansk. But now, sniping is so much worse than it used to be that even though I enjoy sniping more than not sniping, the hit to my performance and my team's performance that I am going to take if I choose to snipe makes sniping less fun than using an AR. So I don't snipe really anymore. I've kind of stopped trying to, especially with all these changes. And that's the central point. If you can do well with a sniper, first of all, that's like, yeah, 10 of you maybe. That's great. And I'll say it now. This is almost certainly the case. If you're doing well with a sniper, cool. You must be good. And if you were using an AR, you'd be doing even better.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, are you having more fun sniping than using an AR? Then keep sniping. Good for you. It's a video game. You should be playing to have fun. We're not trying to tell anyone to stop sniping. We're saying if you're malding that your KD isn't as high as you think it should be, or that you're not winning as often as you should be, then yes, I am telling you to stop sniping. But
yeah.
But if you are sniping and you know, if I was using an AR, I'd be doing better, but I'm having fun sniping, so I'm going to keep sniping, then of course keep sniping. That was me on Verdansk. I'm that guy on Verdansk. So if that's you on Caldera because you're good enough, then cool, good for you. But just know that if you're seething because your KD isn't what you think it should be, then stop sniping. And again, there are cases where sniping is better than using an AR. Solos asterisk, quads asterisk, rebirth asterisk. You fall in that camp as well, then keep sniping. Maybe you wouldn't be doing better with an AR if you fall into those three categories. But if you don't, then just know that. Yeah. Just know that you'd be having, if you're not having fun, you'll have more fun just shutting the fuck up, using a meta STG and using a meta SMG. Or AR, rather.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's that simple. And again, I think the biggest point is if you're doing well sniping, you'd be doing better with an AR.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And that's why Iron doesn't snipe that much anymore, by the way. Let me add that as well. One of the best snipers in Warzone on Earth doesn't opt into using a sniper very much anymore when I watch him. He plays for 30 hours straight, so he does still snipe sometimes. Hey, I would be using a fucking Dragon's Breath Origin if I was playing 30 hours straight. So, like, he does snipe sometimes, and he still does super well. But even he is doing it way less often than he used to. He used to snipe every single game always in Verdansk. He doesn't anymore.
Yeah, I remember him sitting up in the late circles on the far east side of the map by by like farmland and whatnot, up in like the trees up there, and circle endings just laying prone up there with an HDR, or he would park his car and then use his car as cover.
Yep.
Yeah. He used to always do that, man.
Yeah.
I think that is,
friend of the pod.
You can say that for literally everyone though. I think if you're really good with a sniper and doing well with it, you literally would just still have a higher KD and be getting more kills with an AR. But yeah, if it's that fun for you, then obviously don't change it. But yeah. I don't think a person exists that gets more kills and does better with a sniper than they would with the meta AR.
That person might exist in solos on Caldera or in quads on Caldera if they play that way. I think that could be true for some people in those scenarios, but that's just not most people.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Maybe it's true. I haven't played enough solos to know how good sniping is in it. And if I did play enough solos, I'm still not a good enough sniper for it to be worth it for me. But there might be people where it's like, yeah, if you play solos on Caldera, sniping, you'll do even better than using an AR. Cool. But like in trios and when your team is pushing everything, no. You can snipe and maybe it's fine for you, but you'd be doing better with an AR.
It also depends on your team, like you kind of just said too. It's like, yeah, the group that we usually play with, we kind of, if we stop and snipe, I'm 300 meters behind my next teammate. So it's like, I just can't anyways. Even if I wanted to, it wouldn't work very well.
Yeah. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen and fuck toys, that is it. As always, let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you've been sniping and how well it's been going for you. Any feedback is appreciated, but I don't know. I'll end with this. I hope Warzone 2 snipers are better than they are now. Because I miss sniping. I'm just not good enough to snipe on Caldera. I don't have enough fun. It's too hard. It's way too hard for me.
I really do find it hard to believe that we'd go into Warzone 2 without like a sniper that's going to be very fun and good in MW multiplayer to not like one tap someone at any range. I just find that hard to believe. There was so much fun to be had in Verdansk with that. It's like it took like a solid like year and a half before people were finally like starting to get annoyed with the one-shot snipers, you know, like the car and whatnot. It took a long time to get there. So in Warzone 2, I would still, I think I'm with you. Yeah, that'd be fun if the fun meta guns still one-tapped at any range. High mobility snipers.
For sure. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Hope you enjoyed. Again, Tom on the pod next Saturday. Damascus patrons, Texas Hold'em poker tonight, and merch sale for the rest of the month. Blowout sale. Get it while it's hot. Thank you all for watching and listening. Have an excellent evening, of course. And as always, remember, stay humble.
Stay humble.